Let's see, are we live? Kia ora, Morena, hello. Facebook family, let's see. If you are seeing me live, please say kia ora, Morena, hello, so that I can see that you are here with us and that I am live successfully. Even a thumbs up or a love heart would be absolutely fantastic. I am just waiting for my beautiful client and friend Ash to connect into the live and seeing if I can share the live to my... Ooh, Ash wants to be in your video. Let's see. Approve. Beautiful. I'm just going to share my live into my A Wild Worthy World community so that my... Hi, Ash. Hi, beautiful lady. Welcome. We're live. It's working. There's a few people popping in. Woo! Let me just double check that I've shared that in A Wild Worthy World. I'm pretty sure I have. If you are joining us today, my head's chopped off a little bit. Let's just set that back a little bit. If you're joining us today, feel free to say hello, kia ora, morena, in the comments. Would love to know that you're here with us. Just bring your energy and your presence into this space with us. And I would like to, most of you, well, if you're my Facebook friend, you will know who I am, Madeline Lee. And I am the founder, is that what it's called? Founder and creator of Ride Your Stigma. I run the only known herpes support group in New Zealand called NZH Friends. I do my own podcast. I have my own mindset coaching business. I do twerk fitness, sensual dance, expressive dance, all that jazz. I'm a little bit puffed because we've just had a behind the scenes dance party, me and Ash, just to get our energy flowing and and those nerves, settle those nerves. So I'm a little bit puffed and excited. So it's a little bit about me. I'm in Auckland, New Zealand. But today we're not here for me. We're here for the beautiful Ash. Ash, I'll let her introduce herself a little bit. But Ash has literally transformed her inner emotions, her inner mindset, her mental health, all her internal limiting beliefs we ended up doing a course probably over three months, hey Ash? We're meant to do 1 hour calls, guys, and most Friday mornings it will be 3 hours. Me and Ash are still on the same call. So get a beautiful friendship out of it. So Ash has just completed my one-on-one program through Ride Your Stigma called Freeing Your Shit to Find Yourself. Working all on limiting beliefs, negative emotions, pretty much conquering our inner self and our trauma, our childhood upbringing, all of those thoughts that go on in our mind. But I will now hand over to Ash and let her tell us a little bit about who she is, where she's from, what you do for life, Ash, where you've kind of grown up and things like that. Just give us a little bit of a rundown there.
Okay, well, I'm from Wellington, New Zealand, and I've lived here my whole life. I live out with my family at the moment, and as a job, I am a barista, but I'm also an artist, so all of this lovely stuff here is my creations. And that's what I do in my spare time. I do a lot of commission pieces. I do a lot of tattoo designs, and just, I create stuff. I love it. It's a really big part of who I am. And without it, I think I'd be very, very lost. So I studied art at the Learning Connection, which is out in Taida. And you can study online or on site. I studied on site and I met so many awesome people there that I still know today. What else? I do a lot of exercise, and at the moment I'm doing a lot of boxing training. And I really love that community that I've got there. It's just, it lifts me up and it makes me feel really good. Everyone there is becoming like a family to me. Um, I've struggled with mental health pretty much my whole life. I have pretty severe anxiety, so coming on here and doing this live, I was really, really nervous. I was like, oh no, I don't even know what to say, you know.
It's bloody
But
nervous,
I have the
my girl.
expectation. It's like, oh, I did like a little bit of preparation for it, and I wrote a few bullet points and things, but 5 minutes before I came on, I was like, oh my gosh, I should have written more down. Like, what am I doing? But it's all very exciting. Yeah, it's awesome, and the journey that I've been on is pretty massive, really. I don't like to compare it to anyone. I think everyone's journey with mental health is quite different. But I've always been very passionate about sharing and being vulnerable about my experiences and what helps, and how to deal with it, I guess, on a daily basis. Because yeah, I think more people need to be open and honest about it, because through my own sharing of my own journey, the amount of connections that I've made with people is phenomenal. And the amount of people that have reached out to me and just said thank you for showing us that it's normal, and yeah, it's exciting, I think, to kind of be able to be one of those people that doesn't have any shame about it. I'm very, very open about it. I talk about it with my customers at my coffee job. I talk about it everywhere. I don't really hold back. Because I think a lot of my depression and my experience with that was feeling disconnected from people and from society and the way that we kind of rush around and live our lives. So yeah, for me, it's really important to be the person that's out there being vulnerable and showing people that might be having a bad day that, hey, I have them too. It's okay.
Being absolutely real and raw, like not hiding those sad emotions, those angry ones, those hurtful ones, grieving moments. And Ash, guys, actually runs her own little community called Road to Recovery. I didn't tell her that I was going to bring that up, but I am inspired by how you hold space there, Ash. I don't know what your intention was when you first opened that space, a private Facebook group called Road to Recovery, but as we started to work together, I just seen you share your rawness when you were upset, when you were having hard days, and it was definitely a safe space for sharing and for your own healing. And as a knock-on natural consequence, people were inspired by your healing. I definitely am. So, Ash, do you want to tell us? I suppose tell us, let's talk first into like before you met me or before you reached out to me, shall I say, because I know that you were kind of following me for quite a while before we connected. Kind of what were some of the challenges in life, both life challenges, mental health, like had you tried other things in your life, like what battles as a child, in your adolescence, as adulthood, like what kind of things did you face in your life, and what kind of things did you try or give a go to try and support you and mold your mindset and your mental health?
Okay, so before we met, I struggled really, really deeply with depression and anxiety about 5 years ago. Was probably when it was at its worst. So I think I've had it my whole life, but kind of went undiagnosed as a child, specifically with anxiety. I used to hide in the car when my family would go to family reunions, and I used to freak out and have anxiety attacks, which at the time I didn't really realize that's what they were. Any kind of social interaction where there was more than one or two people, that would really freak me out. And I guess I kind of created my life around thinking that I was this very angry, dark, kind of negative mind frame. Um, and I just kind of accepted that that was just who I was. And I used to use that negative mind frame to kind of, I'd play it off with dark humor and, just kind of almost embedded that into who I was. And didn't really realize for a long time that I was the one that had the power to change that. I had just kind of accepted it. And I think it was in my late teens that I started seeing different counselors, different therapists. I was lucky enough that the first counselor that I had was actually free and through a company called Evolve. And he was really, really good. I connected with him really well, and he set me up with things like the Headspace meditation app. He was the one that helped me realize that exercise for me was something that needed to be a staple in my life to kind of help me cope through those dark days. And yeah, from there I kind of built on it, and I went and saw other counselors, some of them not so good, some of them good. And I was always someone that would definitely suggest that everyone should go and speak with a counselor at some point in their life, no matter what. And it wasn't until I had a really bad experience with a psychologist that I actually saw through. So it was about 4 years ago, maybe 5 now actually, that things got really bad for me. And that was around the time that I was diagnosed with herpes. And I just fell apart after that. I grew up in a school where everyone knew that cold sores was a form of herpes, and although it was semi-normalized, it was still brought up, and you were ridiculed for it, you were made fun of for it. And so I guess when I got that diagnosis, that is what all came rushing back for me, was all the shame, the horrible bullying that I was witness to. And it just sent me into this kind of spiral where I just kind of gave up. For about a year, I started drinking really heavily. I just was partying. I didn't really care about anything. I almost wish that the drinking was gonna just kill me, you know? I had one attempt at taking my own life, and through that, I went through the CAT team at the hospital. I tried several different medications, and I do believe medication, specifically for mental health, it's a really tricky conversation to have. I know that there's a lot of posts out there now about people that take medications for it, even for anxiety, and normalizing it, and I'm all for that. I think that's amazing. And yeah, unfortunately for me, the medication didn't really help. It almost made it worse for me. I was lucky enough to kind of have enough self-awareness, I suppose, to realize that it had taken away this voice in my head that kind of told me in the back of all this chaos that was going on that things were going to be okay. And so for me, I went the opposite way from medication, and I guess I almost was very hostile towards people that took the medication and it worked for them, because I was jealous. It was like, oh, I'm sitting here and I've got this massive road to recovery, which is how I started my little business page, I suppose, was because I realized that I had to take control of it, and that there were probably other people out there feeling exactly like me, and I didn't want to hold on to this hostility or this jealous kind of feelings that, you know, these people that I knew were able to take this medication and get better, because I wanted them to get better. I wanted them to feel better, and I wanted to go with them on that journey. It's
Would you
just that we
say
have
resentment?
different.
Would you say kind of resentment? But you didn't want
Yeah.
that, but you were like, oh, screw ya. Almost. Yeah.
And it made me you know, it almost reinforced this like really big anger inside me, and I was like, wow, I'm becoming this really angry person that doesn't like a lot of things in life, because things to me seem like it's harder. But really, it's like you can't hold on to that kind of resentment. You can't hold on to it and thrive. So I didn't realize at the time, but through all of this resentment and jealousy and confusion, I was just almost poisoning myself in my own mindset, you know, and dragging myself back down into this pit of despair.
Was there also like some blame there as well, Ish? So like blame on self, blame on others, just, you know, firing it around almost?
Yeah, I think so. Like a big part of my growing up was my dad was a very, very angry person. He was not violent in any way. He just, to express himself, the only way he knew how was to be very loud and aggressive about it. So growing up is how I learned to express my own emotions, I suppose. And I really realized that it was a learned behavior and not who I am as a person. And so when, I don't even know what age it was, but my dad ended up being on antidepressants because they realized that he was actually severely depressed, and it manifested as anger. Which later in life I figured out that that is how my depression comes out, because through being angry it felt more productive than being hurt, I suppose, which is what I really was.
Did it feel easier sometimes too, Ash? Like easier but not easier, but like it was familiar,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, a lot of people I think look at the emotion of anger and they go, "Oh yeah, but it's so exhausting, and it's tiring to be angry all the time and things like that." And it is.
Yeah,
It is.
it is, but
But it's also very, I mean, you can run off of that, you know, like anger is a form of passion in a way, you know. I'm a very passionate person, so I can get very angry about things if I let myself. And you almost feed off of that energy in a way.
with drama addiction, hey Ash, within our work, but like almost an emotion addiction, like addiction to that anger. It's like when we get angry at a small thing in life, and then we're raging inside, and we're like, oh my god, and then we're like, oh, I don't really know if that anger was about that one small thing. Where did that anger come from? But we just it's a familiar cycle, and it's breaking those chains, hey, to start finding new ways to deal with your emotions. So
Yeah, that's it. It's hard. I'm not sitting here today and saying that the journey that I've been on is easy, because it certainly hasn't been. But is it worthwhile? Yes, definitely. And yeah, I think if you're thinking about working on your own mental health, then yeah, Maddie for me was, she helped me release that emotion, and she helped me dig deeper into why I was feeling so angry and what was underneath that feeling, because I didn't realize that a lot of the time my anger masked a lot of hurt, a lot of shame, and all these other emotions that I just didn't deal with because I just thought I was an angry person, you know, and
Those layers,
counselors that,
yeah.
yeah, because of it,
You think about the way
I,
we had the layers, and we released anger first, Ash, and then all these other, then hurt came out, sadness and guilt, and
I think if we'd done it in a different order, it wouldn't have been so effective.
mm,
Um, because yeah, anger for me was a big one, and it might be for other people watching. Maybe your biggest emotion is hurt, or maybe you mask your feelings with happiness. You know, there's a lot of people out there that struggle with mental health that other class clowns. They joke around, they're very energetic, and you don't know that inside that they're feeling all this other stuff. And I think it's really important to kind of have that self-awareness and realize that you don't have to be happy all the time. You don't have to present yourself to people in a way that is positive all the time. You know, these negative emotions of anger and sadness and shame and all of that. I think we don't talk about them because it's negative and no one wants to be negative, and we don't want to be talking about things that are uncomfortable, but it's through talking about it that we realize it's normal, for one, because the person you're talking to is probably going to say, oh yeah, hey, I've felt that too, you know, like this situation here that made me feel that way. And yeah, it's the talking through it and realizing and understanding the true depth of these emotions that we free it. Because I think it's hard because I used to blame my parents a lot, I think, for how I am and how I was, because their generation didn't have any idea what anxiety was. You know, they had this attitude of you just get on with things. And so that's how they then went and brought kids up, and that's just how things continued until I guess I realized, you know, hey, this doesn't work for me. um, and people started talking about things more. And I actually, you know, the first time that I sat down with my parents and I opened up to them about my struggles, and I found out my dad has these same struggles, I didn't feel alone anymore. You know, it was like, wow, okay. So this whole time, you know, I've been very, oh, it's their fault I'm this way because they didn't this, or they didn't get me into counseling early enough, or this didn't happen. And really it was like, well, now I take into consideration that, you know, my dad's in his 60s. He's never seen a counselor in his life. He's on medication that he actually doesn't want to take, but takes for his family because it does help him, and he realizes this. Um, and it kind of opened my mind to being like, well, wow, the whole time they have their own struggles that I didn't know about, that I just assumed that because they're my parents, they knew everything, you know? I just assumed, oh, you have kids and you just know how to bring them up. You know how to teach them this and you know how to teach them that. And you send them to school to learn the things that you can't teach them, without actually realizing that someone can't teach you how to understand your emotions if they've never been taught themselves.
because we only know what we only know, hey Ash, and whatever we're exposed to in life, that's our journey. And all our journeys are so unique. And I praise you for what I feel. Correct me if I'm wrong. What I feel that you are explaining is your acceptance and I suppose your release of blame or control regarding your upbringing and your parents' parenting and just life exposure, like you releasing that and learning to accept and be more understanding of that everyone is different and there's always something deeper, that this is why we've parented a certain way or this is why this has happened a certain way. and then you've stepped into, all I can hear is ownership, ownership, ownership. Turn your own, like you're an adult now, and you know there is things that you go through that you're like, oh, this is so hard, or this is just bullshit, you know, bullshit stuff in life. It's super, super hard. Or you're like, man, I wish it had been gone a different way, etc. But you seem to that point that you were like, hey, and because you could have chosen to just keep taking that medication that personally didn't work for you. Like, it sounds like it got you through patches and definitely supported you in parts of your mental health journey. But then it got to a point that you were like, I'm not happy. I'm not happy with this life forever, taking this medication with the other side of it. What else can I do? So you stepped up and you decided, okay, this is going to be hard, but I'm ready. I'm ready to take control, take ownership, and really take my whole life, my mind, my mental space, my emotions into my own hands and really work at the core of it, eh?
Yeah, because like you said, I think it's a natural kind of human reaction to try and find something or someone else to blame for whatever is happening in your life that makes you uncomfortable, that is making you sad or angry or whatever else that you're feeling. I think that's the easy option, and it's totally normal, and I would never shame anyone for doing that, because I did that for years. But I guess what I'm saying is, to be able to start this journey, I had to kind of leave that blame behind and go, okay, this is who I am. This is who I think I am at this point and where I've come from. And it's my responsibility to take what I know and decide if I'm just going to stay here or if I'm going to reach out and find people and other kind of things in life to better myself, because you can't expect it from anyone else, you know. You're the one that has to do the work. You're the one that has to realize, hey, yeah, I am an adult and it's probably about time that I go, well, yes, you know, we choose what job we want to do, we choose where we want to live, we choose who we want as our friends, all of these things. So why not choose to better your mental health? Why not choose to leave behind the blame and move forward? Because you can. I wouldn't be here today if you couldn't do that. And I say that as someone who came from a really, really dark place. I think we met online in a herpes community, and that was about 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was quite early into my diagnosis. I think I was only maybe 3 months into my diagnosis, and I was diagnosed in October 2019. So maybe a few months into that. Yeah, so a couple of years ago now.
Couple of years ago, and I know I'd been in this group. I was introduced by another friend who was in this group, and I had been in it for a while, and it wasn't what I was expecting. It didn't feel like a safe place to me. But I stayed in it because I had no other support in that area, you know. And the stigma and the shame around it was massive for me. And honestly, it wasn't until I started this course with you that I truly kind of have been able to say out loud, hi, my name's Ash and I have HSV too. That
For anyone watching, that is Ash's first time saying it on out in the open, and I'm so like, it makes me all goosey and happy. If you live with the herpes virus, you will understand. If you don't, you can probably draw a picture of some sort of the nerves of the racing heart around stigma and judgment in our world. You all hot and sweaty now.
yeah, but
say thank you, Ash, because each time someone has enough courage to come and talk so fucking raw and real about mental health, STIs, any of this stuff, share their personal journey, this is what fucking crushes that stigma that eats us. So, yes, Ricardo, I'm so fucking proud of her too. Like, it takes balls, and not many people can do that, Ash. And the more we talk about these real life things, it opens it more and more, and it educates more and more. And at the same time, it's not just about the outside world. It heals a little bit in you and builds your confidence. And
I don't think
going.
I don't think I realized that the power in saying that out loud. I had this diagnosis this year. At the end of this year, it'll be 5 years, and to think that I spent pretty much 4 of those feeling disgusted in myself and being made to feel worthless. It saddens me a little bit because I think, you go, oh, it's easy to look at it and go, wow, that's 4 years I'm never going to get back. But that's 4 years of my life that I am now using to help other people. I've come on here today to talk about it and to say, hey, it's okay if you do feel shame, because you will eventually get to a place where you don't. And I honestly never thought I would get to that place. I never thought that I would ever enjoy a sex life ever again. I never thought that I would feel sexy because of this. And my drive, I suppose, is I don't want someone else to go through that for as long. So me coming on here and saying these things today and saying it's okay, as much as it is for everyone else watching to understand that it's okay to feel these things and that you can get past them. For me, to be able to do that is just showing me how much I've grown. Because prior to this, I was kind of like, oh, this is on Facebook, and I went through a lot where I was bullied quite severely over this topic. I was told that I should go and end things. I was told that I should never have sex again. I was told I was disgusting. People thought that they could catch it by sitting next to me on the couch, and this is the problem, is people don't talk about it because there's all of this shame, and people think it's dirty. It's the same as people going, when you meet someone that you want to be with intimately, and you ask them the question of, do you have any STIs, or have you had a checkup recently? A lot of the time it's worded in the way of, are you clean? And I think that, because that's not right. It doesn't mean I'm unclean because I have this virus. It doesn't mean I'm dirty. It doesn't mean any of these things that I think people think, because we don't talk about it. We're not allowed to talk about it in society a lot of the time because it makes people uncomfortable, and it's really bizarre. It's like, if we can get to a point with mental health where it's talked about more openly, and I've seen that and I've been a part of that, if we can do that with mental health, then we can do that with STIs.
Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah, girl. And it is because it's unfamiliar and it is uncomfortable because people don't know what to say. And then when you it's so interesting because when but for anyone watching, herpes is quite complex. When you really look into the testing, how it lays dormant, that you can have it for 10 years and have no idea you have it. All of these complex facts, when you really start to learn about a virus properly, you're like, oh, so it's actually not that bad and I'm not that much of an alien. But society, and only in my experience, I don't know, maybe sex ed is meant to be taught again when you're an adult. But when I was at school and we learned at sex ed, number one, I was too busy giggling and being fucking nervous and not paying attention. Number two, I just remember all the learnings I got from sex ed and education was don't get an STI, don't get pregnant. Pretty much felt like a little voice saying just don't have sex. We're all humans, so majority, not all, but majority of humans have some sort of sexual encounter, whether it's consented or not, or you know, something like that. So that's how we stay alive. You know, humans are born through having sex. Like that's how we reproduce. So it's something that we need to come into talking about more. So I just thank you, Ash, for diving into that. Coming back to kind of your experience through the program, Ash, could you explain to people, I suppose, just a difference of like what your self-love and your self-worth and your own, I suppose, vision or identity of yourself was like prior to starting our one-on-one work together, and then compared to now, like what major shifts have you seen in your emotions or your self-worth, your self-love, self-hate or dislike, things like that?
Okay, so I think before I did this course, I almost felt like I was in kind of limbo. So I'd spent, a couple of years building myself back up, after being on the benefit for a year and just kind of wasting away my time drinking and trying to forget stuff. I then went and got a job and started to, what I thought I was doing was building myself back up, and I was. But I kind of got to a point where I realized that I wasn't making any more progress, and I still had this deep kind of self-loathing in a way. I was really proud of myself, for digging myself out of this kind of pit of despair, but I was still holding on to a lot of shame. I was still not fully accepting of myself.
Did you like yourself, Ash, back then?
No, 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 I wanted to. I really wanted to. And there were some days where I thought I did. But no, I didn't love myself because deep down I hadn't worked through these issues. And I knew I needed help to do that. I knew that this was something that I couldn't do on my own. And I'd watched you for a couple of years and I'd seen your growth because when we first met, I'd already had herpes for a couple of years. And
And I was asking you for help, wasn't I?
yeah, and I was like, this person's asking me for help, and then 2 years later, I'm sitting here watching her on Facebook and seeing how much she's growing and how proud, and out there she is with it. There was no shame. I was like, I want to be like this. I want to learn. Like, how is this beautiful woman surpassed me so quickly on my journey of accepting this virus? That what is it that she's doing that I be a part of it, because whatever I was doing wasn't working, and I kind of, I guess, put a bunch of stuff in a little ball, and I put it over here, and I thought, okay, I'll contain this and I'll put it over here and I'll focus on doing the normal things of getting a job again and paying my way in society and starting to exercise and socialize and all of these things, stop drinking so much and look after myself, and I thought that was enough. I didn't need to deal with that.
A big move anyway, Ash. They are huge moves. Make those lifestyle changes, but it still wasn't enough for you by the sounds of it.
It wasn't, no, and there was still this deep sort of, I wasn't connected to who I am, my true self. I wasn't that back then.
Did you
I didn't.
Who your true self was back then?
I did.
Did you even know who your true self was back then?
I don't think so. No, not at all. Yeah. I think I was very lost when you reached out to me. without really knowing that I was lost, because I'd had 1 year. So when the first COVID lockdown hit, that year for a lot of people was really hard. For me, I had a lot of really good wins that year. I felt really, really good. And it just felt like I kept building, and then we got into 2021 and something kind of hit. It was like, this ball of stuff that I hadn't dealt with over here was like, oh, hey, things are going really well now. Now you can deal with this stuff that you've put to the side, that you've ignored, that you've tried to like bury. Now you can face this because you've built yourself up a little bit more. You've grown some strength. Now you need to face these things. And so that was how, when you reached out, I was like, okay. And I'd had one other person in the last couple of years who had reached out to me as well that I didn't quite connect with. And I'd always sort of thought, oh, this person offered to help me and I didn't take their help. Maybe it's my own fault. Maybe I deserve to feel this way. Maybe I'm always supposed to feel inadequate. But yeah, when I started talking with you and we had that first phone call, there was a connection there that I just went for it. And I think if you listen to yourself and you are in tune with your own emotions and what it is you actually want, then you will know that deep down it is right for you. And so regardless of anything else, I was really busy at the time. I had a lot on. I was just like, okay, enough's enough. I'm going to commit to this course and I don't really know what to expect from this. But I'm going to do it. And so we started, and the whole way through, I think it was a really interesting experience. I've done a lot of meditation before and things like that. So that was really useful, I think, for me. But I'd never done it with someone else present, and I'd never had to dig quite as deep as we did. And that experience, as scary as it is to kind of, because we didn't really know each other at that point, we knew a little bit about each other, but it's not like it was talking to a friend about my struggles. Now it is.
Yeah.
But
now it is.
Now it is. And that's awesome. I'm so grateful for that. But yeah, at the time it was really scary and I didn't really know what to expect. But as it went on, it was like, wow, this woman's giving me this opportunity to learn so much more about my emotions and how to actually sit with them. Because prior to this course, I think because I feel so deeply and my emotions are very, very passionate at times, I struggle to kind of control them. And I guess I would just...
Would you say express them, Ash?
Yeah.
Rather
yeah,
than
because,
control, or yeah.
yeah, because I think prior to this, I did try to control them, and I did try and kind of put them in this box instead of going, well, yeah, there is other ways of expressing it. The same as how I deal with my anger now, because it's not like we've released it and I never get angry anymore, because that's just not human nature.
Yeah, that's because yeah.
Yeah. But the way that I look at it now and the way that I express it is a lot healthier. I think I used to think that expressing my anger was just yelling and screaming and getting it out. I thought, oh, well, that's what you're supposed to do, isn't it? I'm angry, I'm going to yell and I'm going to scream and I'm going to stomp around and be crazy. And then I'll feel better, right? And
we
I always
don't know if that's the only skills we have. when we're angry and that past version of ourselves outroar in that anger, like that's all we knew. So just accepting and thanking that old version of ourselves, and then stepping through into now. So how do you deal with your anger now, Ash, compared to how you used to?
I don't think that makes me feel as uncomfortable as it used to. So I suppose I thought about how I used to deal with it and how I deal with it now, and I go, okay, now it's much easier for me to sit with that feeling, and to communicate it in a healthier way. So instead of having it build up until it gets to a point that it's unbearable, I try and sit down and express it and talk about it just like we're talking about it now. So
you allow it more, so you resist less? Is that what you're saying?
yeah, and I think that's the secret to dealing with your emotions, is not resisting them. So not resisting the urge to cry, to feel sad, that uncomfortable feeling that you get when you're like, oh, I just don't want to cry right now, that kind of, I used to do that all the time. I used to stop myself from crying. I used to sit myself away and take myself away and put myself in my room and just kind of wallow in those emotions, rather than sit here with them and go, okay, today I feel sad and that's okay. And you kind of have to dig a bit deeper, I think, and go, because you're the only one that knows what it is that you need in that moment, whether or not it is support, whether or not it is time alone, whether or not, you need to go and distract yourself, or you just want to sit and talk about it. It's through the not resisting those feelings that I'm able to now dig deeper and understand where they're actually coming from. Because I think prior to this, I used to just go, I'm angry, so or really sad, oh my god, and it would just kind of explode.
So quite reactive, Ash? Would you say reactive?
Yeah.
Whereas now I feel like you're telling me is you acknowledge it and it comes up, but you acknowledge it and you're like, okay, I'm gonna feel the feeling now. Even if it's a bit of a drag or it's challenging, like letting those emotions actually flow, because emotions need to expel out of us and express.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's very freeing, I think, to finally be able to sit with those feelings and those emotions, because you can only kind of resist them and push them away for so long. And I mean, don't get me wrong, there are still situations where I am very reactive, but the time that it takes for me to realize that and go back and apologize if that's what I need to do, or explain, why I reacted in that way to whoever was there. The time that it takes me to do that is much shorter. And that for me is huge, because I think I used to just shy away from that kind of conversation because I was ashamed that I reacted in those ways.
So honesty and ownership again, Ash, and kind of like forgiving yourself or forgiving others, and like it's really easy to run away at times like that. Like it's really easy to be eaten by embarrassment and shame, especially when we've lashed out or done something that we're like, or shame ourselves, just be like, oh my god, you're so stupid, why did you react like that, like you overreacted. But actually like accepting, choosing to forgive ourselves, own it, and then walk through it and just sit with the person or flick them a message, say, hey, I just calmed down and I reflected on what just happened. I'm really sorry. I think this is where it came from, like unfolding it,
Yeah, because there's so many layers, I think, to everyone and where their emotions come from. And I think a lot of the emotions that we struggle with personally a lot of the time are ones that we were never taught how to kind of sit with and how to deal with them. Because yeah, I think a lot of people look at emotions specifically and we go, okay, so how do we deal with this, instead of, well, I'm going to allow myself half a day or half an hour or however much of a time slot that you want to go, okay, I'm going to allow myself to sit here and feel this way. And then once I'm done, I'm going to go and do something that makes me feel good or makes me feel happy, something else to take my mind off of it, to kind of show you that it's okay to wallow for a while. It's okay to sit with these feelings, and allow them to kind of run through you, because that is healthy. We can't always kind of be expected to just get up and get on with things and think that,
really unique.
yeah,
Everyone has their own way of processing, sometimes sitting with it, sometimes sitting in our space of, like you're saying, wallow in it, and then choose when to get back up. It is different for everyone. There's no black and white, only you know, and through your own exposure and experience, learning your own emotions and how you deal with them. Hey.
yeah, and I think by learning about your own emotions and things, it kind of helps you to understand when other people react and treat you in certain ways. So through this course and doing all of this learning about emotions and how to free them, I have learned a lot of patience for other people who aren't at this point that I am at. So that's huge for me, because I think a lot of the time when I first started this journey of self-development, I used to get really frustrated with people that didn't do anything for themselves, that didn't, that hadn't started this journey. And I was like, why aren't you doing this? Like, you're very frustrating, because I'm over here going, yes, I've done this and I've made these mistakes and owning up to everything, and you're just sitting here and not doing anything. You're just ignoring it. And it used to make me really frustrated. And now I kind of, okay, I have this understanding that they haven't had the opportunity and the interactions to be able to understand why they're acting out in this way. So if someone, lashes out at me now, often I kind of sit here and I go, I recognize this behavior because I used to do this. And I can't force them to want to change or want to own up to it. I can just encourage them and give them the space to do what it is they need to do, and then show them by doing this kind of thing that if they want to, they can change that behavior.
Except,
And they can, yeah,
except Ash, of everyone's journey is so different. This is something huge. I think I've told you about this before, that I think it's huge when you start to get into an obsessive space about self-development, because that is me all over. And I feel like you're quite similar to me, like on your journey. You're like, oh, I want more. I want to learn more. I want to heal more. Oh, what about this? Oh, I want to get more vulnerable. Give it to me, kind of thing. And we want all this healing, and we want, because we're on this, literally, it's a natural high. There's some days where I'm like, shit, am I on drugs? But I'm literally sober, because I'm like, oh, my energy's so high, and this is so fun. I want everyone to feel like this because I'm here and I've done hard work. So I want it so badly for the people around me that I love and I care about, but they're in a different path. We're all in a different path. And I've had to do big work, like what you're saying, to let go of control, because a lot of the time I want other people's healing and happiness more than they want it themselves. And you're so right. We just working on letting go and focusing, like what I could hear you saying before is coming back to, I'm pretty sure we've had this conversation before, is focusing on you. And when you heal yourself for you and genuinely for you and just do your thing, you, as a natural consequence, it just authentically like inspires others when they're ready on their path to go, oh, maybe they're not right now, but in 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, they'll go, oh, fuck, something really tragic or really hard in their life just blows up and they go, oh, I'm over this. Okay, Ash is honestly so happy. I'm going to send her a message. How did she do it? How did she, you know?
Yeah.
And that's probably kind of what snapped in you. I remember I had, like, you know, we'd seen each other on social media a little bit, but I remember when you posted that post into our herpes sport community, pretty much saying, fuck, I'm over this. Someone help me.
Yeah.
How do I get past this? Someone tell me, what do I do? How do I get out of this hole? I'm ready to live that high life. Like, I'm ready to be true to myself and build this confidence and fucking love myself. And I sent you that message. Something obviously clicked in yourself that, you know, like, you're like, I'm ready. I don't give a shit what it takes. I want it. You know, I want it badly. And I think it's really hard with the close friends and family we had as well, because we love them dearly. We love them dearly.
Yeah.
Especially when we're all at different like stages and phases of our healing journey, they will always be different. Could you give me, Ash, for people that, I suppose, to give them a little bit of insight into the program, like maybe 2 or 3 of your biggest takeaways or shifts that you had through our work in our one-on-one program together? So it could be any of like the weekly task tools, it could be clearing a certain emotion or limiting beliefs, it could be literally just having the face-to-face calls. Like, was there a couple of takeaways that would be like your biggest thing that really started to transform your mind and your life and your space?
One really big one that I am thinking about today is the healing code that you gave me.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this healing code that takes, I think it's 6 minutes, that Maddie gave me access to, that I think originally I was using it for my carpal tunnel.
Yeah, it came up. Yeah.
So I'd just been diagnosed with that and I was really struggling with that. But now I use it every day for my skin. So anyone that knows me knows my entire life I have had quite severe eczema. And I also suffer with a condition called dermatillomania. And the two together, when I'm stressed out, get really, really bad. To the point where, you know, there was one point in time where I was having to have bleach baths a couple of times a week. I couldn't shower because my legs were so raw. And I was just so ashamed of that. And I was in a headspace where I just had almost given up that my skin was ever going to be somewhat normal again. And yeah, I just sort of, just gave up. And this tool that you've given me of this healing code, whether you have to believe in that kind of thing, but it's really opened my mind to the power of our own brain, and the power of our own minds, and how that cycle of thinking of I'm never going to have normal skin, it's never going to be any good, I'm always going to be in pain, all of those kinds of thoughts and feelings were just feeding it. And I finally understood what the doctors were saying to me when they said it could be in your head, because that used to really, really annoy me. I'm itchy, it's not in my head, it's on my skin. How can you tell me that it's in my head? But through this healing code, my mindset has kind of flipped. on this issue about my skin, and although this last week it's flared up and things have been really sore, I've continued doing this healing code, and I now believe deeply that I can fix this issue, that I will get better. I am very accepting of the fact that, okay, my skin's never going to be perfect, but perfect is not, it's unattainable. And we shouldn't be trying to reach this unattainable goal. Instead, my mindset is, okay, well, only I can deal with this. I can either sit here and complain about it and get really frustrated, or I can sit with it. I can, research things. I can meditate. I can use this healing code, and I can better my own thought process, which I truly believe will then, eventuate and will help clear my skin. Because if I'm not so stressed about it, if I'm not thinking every second of the day about it, if I'm not, hyper focused on it in a negative way, instead, if I turn that focus into, even just visualizing what my skin could look like in 6 months' time, and what, is possible, then anything is possible.
I that focus of where you want to be, that luxury place, wonderful skin, and it's so comfortable, and all that focus. Like, I totally get what you're saying. And would you say, because I feel like as you're explaining that, Ash, like a core of it, the healing code, and then all I can hear is like, because you're saying it's changed the way your mind approaches when you do have a flare up or you're uncomfortable. Would you say that releasing limiting beliefs in your mind through the NLP and timeline therapy techniques, releasing some of those limiting beliefs around, oh, my skin will always be like this, I can never get it good, all of those, transforming, releasing those and bringing in new learnings, would you say that supported it as well?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think before doing this course, I'd never thought about limiting beliefs. I'd never really come across that saying before. It's funny because I'd seen a counselor a year prior to this course that talked about values, and values came up in this course again for me. And when I first approached it with my last counselor, I really struggled with it. I could not sit there and I could not tell you what my values were, because to me it was like, well, I've never actually been taught this. I don't know. And so when we sat down and talked about what I do value and what was most important, that really helped to kind of set myself up to do the work, because at the core of who you are your values. And I think a lot of us, we kind of do the cliche, honesty and love and all of that, but when you dig a bit deeper and you go, these are the things that are important to me, you can then, you have this ability now to build the life that you want, because you know what it is that you want. Instead of, I think what a lot of people do is go, what do you want in life? And we kind of think about what kind of job we want, where we want to live, and if we want kids, and that's all good and well, but at the same time, what use is all of that if you don't know what you value deep down that isn't, a materialistic job or a, item that you want. I think we need to go back to that raw kind of thing of actually going, well, this is what is important to me. These are the kinds of things and the kind of behavior that I vibe with, and this is how I'm going to go about it. Because now, through all the values that we sat down and wrote up, which I've actually still got on my wall, to remind me daily, because I think, you know, we're so busy that sometimes we can kind of forget. So if I'm having a bad day, I come home and I read it on my wall and I go, okay, what happened today that doesn't serve these things, and what can I do about it? And that's massive, because prior to this, I didn't have boundaries for myself to kind of protect who I am. And I think that's really important. This course, and that's probably the other thing apart from this healing code, is the ability now to have boundaries for myself and for others, you know, like, because I think we do need them with ourselves as well. You know, I need to put in place boundaries of, don't sit here and wallow about my skin and beat myself up for it, and don't compare myself. I need to have that boundary of, if I start this cycle, go and do something fun to remind myself that my skin is just a physical appearance, really. It doesn't affect who I am. It doesn't affect how I treat people, or it doesn't have to. And it doesn't have to devalue how I feel about myself. So although I've had a really hard week with it, it doesn't mean that I've fallen back into the cycle of not loving myself because I think my skin looks ugly right now. You know, I'm able to kind of sit with it and go, okay, it doesn't look exactly how I want it to look, and it's really painful and itchy, but I love myself because I have got through this week with it, and I haven't allowed it to beat me. I went for a swim in the ocean for the first time in years, and that involves me getting my legs out and being in public, and that I don't think I would have been able to do without this course, without, you know, being able to find out the true love that I can have for myself and that I do deserve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would definitely say, Ash, the biggest, gosh, there's so much stuff popping up in my head then. Going back to values, what you were saying there about values, I feel like a big thing about the values too is letting go of expectation and other people's judgments or judging self, because often when we don't know what our life values are, it's because we have them in here, but we're trying to fit into everyone else's societal box, everyone else's,
Yeah.
you know, or societal norms and expectations. So we got to say, oh, well, I actually really value this, but that's not what society wants you to do. So then, like, we say nothing. We're like, oh, I don't really know what I value. Because really, I value playing PlayStation 6 hours a day, and people like shame me because they think that's not good. But really, that's what you fucking truly value. Go fucking
Right.
if that makes you.
Yeah.
I was gonna say too. Just to highlight, I think the biggest thing that I have seen shift in you, Ash, is like this unstoppable like confidence even when you're fucking scared. Like, I honestly, like, being honest, just being honest with myself and with you, honestly, I did not expect you to be here on my personal like Facebook Live today telling your story. I expected it to be in my closed female only group with 340 people, and I was having tech issues, and I thought, oh, I'll throw it at her. But that's huge. Like, that is fucking, and it just so embodying, so true to yourself, and so much confidence in who you are, that you, and so much sureness and unconditional love to yourself, that you know you are worthy, that you know you are lovable, and that you love others and you care. Like, that's what hits home for me with your journey. So, like, fucking celebrating you, Miss Ash. Like, oh, you're incredible. I've got 2 more questions for you before we go. So first one is, what would you tell anyone? So I've got quite a few people at the moment really interested in signing on and changing their motherfucking life in this beautiful program, just like you did. but they're just on the fence, you know, they're like, ahhing and iffing, money, time, energy, oh, is it really for me? So if there was people sitting out there going, shit, this sounds like it could be a bit of me, but I don't know, what would you share with them in your experience, if you could tell them something?
I think if you've even got a little bit inside that is saying this could be for me, then it's worth respecting that and giving it a go, because I know for me money and time was a big thing of, oh, you know, I don't have enough of both of these things to commit to this. But you can't live your life going, oh, I don't have the time to do something that you have an interest in. Because the time that you spend doing this course, talking to Maddie and talking through your feelings and learning about yourself and learning how to love yourself, that time is time well spent. And you will get an abundance of things from it. So don't worry about that. The other with money is, it's just money. Money always comes back. I think a lot of people focus on it and go, oh, but this and that. But you can't, you know, how much money do you spend on alcohol or gas or food or all these things that, you know, you want or need? For me, it's like, if you have this feeling inside you saying, I need this experience, I need this help, I need this growth, then don't worry about the money, because there are payment plans, there are ways to get through it. It doesn't have to be debilitating. It's, yeah, you will get so much more from it than anything else. It's investing in yourself, not anything else. You know, the money is, look at it as an investment in your own mental health, in your own belief, in your own power, because you can't buy that anywhere else. You know, you can't get that anywhere else. It's just, yeah,
Yeah.
it's worth it. It's worth it. I think I had a split kind of moment where I was like, oh, what have I done? Oh no, that's a lot of money, because, you know, and I was like, oh shit. And that was the only moment that I've had since. Every week, you know, every week, the calls that we've had, the tasks that you've given me, because I think a lot of the time prior to this, when I'd been given tasks from counselors and things like that, there was a lot of fear if I didn't do it or if I didn't do it properly. Whereas this, you know, you give so much support that it gives the person more drive to do those tasks and even enjoy them. They're not tasks that you're like, oh, okay, I've got to go and do this. It's the ability to learn more about yourself and to give yourself permission, I suppose, to feed your inner truth and to build your strength and your love for yourself. That trumps any other doubts that you may have. I can guarantee that from that first call that you have, all of that will fall apart, because you'll realize that this connection is beautiful, and what you're going to get from it is going to be massive, you know. And it didn't take long for me to realize that, you know. It was split second of, oh, okay, and then it was the whole way through. Like, I was telling everyone, you know, I was like, I'm doing this mindset course and it's really amazing, and I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and I was really proud of it. And that, yeah, I think you just got to do it. If you've got that little voice in you going, I think this could be me, I think that I could benefit from it, listen to that voice.
Yeah. And
Because
it's investment in transforming your entire life, Ash. Like, when you're when you're talking there, all I can think of is once you step into something like this, because this course that I take my clients through, which you went through, it's very, I've tweaked it a lot different than what my coach done for me, but I stepped through a very similar course. And once I stepped into that course, my entire life, it didn't stop. It started a never ending wheel of this world that I never knew even existed. And it doesn't ever end. Like what we've finished your paid program, like my program course with you. It's not ended. It's only just beginning. Like I'm so excited. I don't want to stop our weekly calls. Next month. Yeah, she's just like, Dad, can I pay you? Like, so thank you for sharing that, just to support, I suppose, and give other people insight. And just to let everyone know too, I do it's supposed to be an hour, but it's generally an hour and a half, a free connection call with anyone that is sitting on the fence that wants to jump in and just have a chat. We go through a couple of questions, see where you're at, see where I'm at, what work I kind of do, and then see if it's aligned, because I don't actually work with everyone. I work with people that it feels right, because the work I do is to transform your life. The money is a second addition, if that makes sense. I'm actually here because I want you to live your best fucking life. And the last question, Ash, I suppose would be, if there's anyone out there super struggling with mental health and they're watching live or on the replay, what would be, I suppose, one little quote or sentence that you would share with them if they're having a rough time at the moment?
Oh, that's a hard one. I think I'd say that it's okay to feel how you're feeling. Don't waste time beating yourself up for feeling down or for struggling, because struggling makes us human. And don't be afraid to reach out. You know, my inbox is always open. If you want to join my road to recovery, where it is a safe space to even just vent how you're feeling, because I do that. I use it as a safe space to talk about how I feel and just to let it out. Then please reach out, because I would love to help. I would love to be there and support anyone that feels any kind of depression or anxiety or is just having a bad day. Support will get you through. And if you reach out to those people that you feel you have a connection with, then we will all help you through it. Because I think a lot of the time we isolate ourselves when we feel down, when we feel depressed, and I just want to tell you that you don't have to do that. You don't need to do that. You don't need to feel like a burden, because you're not a burden. By being vulnerable and open about these feelings, you're actually helping a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And you're showing that it's okay to voice those feelings. Yeah.
Beautiful. And we'll chat. I'll find your road to recovery link to Ash, so that if anyone does want to join your beautiful little community, I can pop that into the comments as well. My A Wild Weather World is women only, if no one knows that. So it's a bit of a I've actually got like 6 or 7 males that have requested to join it, but I chose to keep it female only, just because I share some things in there that are more female related at this time. Could change in the future, but you have any multi-sex or identity in your community, don't you, Ash? So that's quite cool. So I can also send any males that request into my community that need some support into yours. So we'll pop the Road to Recovery link in the comments as well. I will put A Wild Weather World in the comments as well, in case there's any females from your community that wanted to join into that space as well. And just fucking celebration. Like, Ash, you are fucking incredible. Thank you so much for your courage today. I think you've earned like a big ocean swim or cunny, like fucking delicious food. And one day we will meet in person. We won't always be through a screen.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for coming on and sharing with us. If anyone has any questions before we go regarding anything at all, so it could be mental health, herpes, maybe Ash, maybe her art, my coaching courses or business, just chat them in the comments. Now, I did see an earlier comment, so we'll just go back and have a little looky. I think the biggest thing is we try to find acceptance from everyone else rather than having acceptance and love for ourselves. Yeah, hell yeah. That's a huge one. Yeah. We're always wanting like validation and approval from other people. But look, I done this great thing. Look, I'm so proud of me. Look, can you praise me? But if we actually can work on stepping into that acceptance and love and being super, super proud of ourselves. It's funny, the other day, Ash, in a wild weather world, how I do Wobble Wednesday on a Wednesday morning, I came on and I was super excited, and I knew that there was about 3 or 4 ladies coming on, and I was like, why are they not popping up? Like, it doesn't say anyone's watching me. Whatever, I'll keep going, you know, like, I had real fun, danced for 30 minutes, like, yeah, come on, guys, like, talking to my video. And then I finish it, and then I check because I put it on Do Not Disturb so that it doesn't, you know, alter my music. And then one of the girls was like, Maddie, I can't find your live. So I wasn't even actually live, like I was live. And then I was like, oh, wow, I still enjoyed it, you know, because I was just loving my life. And then I did it a second time. So poor me, I was a bit sweaty bugger that day. There doesn't seem to be any questions, but if you guys have any questions for either of us after this, send us a private message, or if you're watching the replay, pop it in the comments as well. Hey Amy, thank you for sharing, Ash. So inspiring and courageous to come on and tell your story. I know. Thank you so much, Amy. Ash, you are just, I can't even describe, like, just tingles. You are fantastic, and thank you so much, because this is what inspires more people to find that courage and that love within inside them and own their truth and who they are. So you are one more step to changing the motherfucking world, and you've done so well to change your own view on your self-worth and your self-love. I can't wait for many more years of our friendship.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Okay, beautiful. Well, have a beautiful, beautiful afternoon, and thank you so much for your time and energy.
No worries. All right.
Bye. Bye.